Hey, how's it? So, one of the more interesting things that I've grown this season as a beginner gardener is ginger. Uh, I myself am a casual ginger enjoyer, so I thought it'd be very fun to just show you guys what's going on. It's about ready to harvest. It's been growing for quite a while now, so I'm very keen to see how this is gonna go. Plus, I need more ginger to make curry, so timing just works out. Yeah, let's just get straight into the video. So just quickly, let's go over the stuff that I did, bed prep and all that. Firstly, I planted the ginger same time as the corn last year, so that was the beginning of October. Yeah, somewhere around there. What I did is, along with all the beans and corn and stuff, I actually pre-soaked the ginger root. What happened is I had been using a root of ginger for curries and stuff for quite a while, and I was left with, I would say, if I recall correctly, I've got a photo, I'll put it up, it was about maybe 70 mils to 100 mils long. In terms of diameter, it was probably about 40 mils sort of wide. It was quite small, something to that effect. However, it did have one or two eyes that had already sprouted. So when I came to that point, I was like, okay, well, let's try this. I want to grow ginger. I don't know if this is gonna work or not. Let me throw it into the ground and see what happens. So I pre-soaked the ginger. The reason I did that is I've heard that a lot of the ginger roots, they get soaked with a growth inhibitor. So because we bought it from the store and stuff, it most likely had a growth inhibitor on it. So the reason I soaked it was to try and get rid of that growth inhibitor, one, and then two is just to pre-hydrate the root to give it a better chance of actually, growing and thriving. So I soaked it. It was 6, 7, maybe 8 hours. I think it was closer to about 6. And then I planted it up. The bed itself, so you can see it over here. So you can see it over here amongst all the nasturtium. In terms of bed prep itself, all I did is locally where I planted the root, I amended the soil with compost. I put a lot of food scraps underneath, and I did also put in a little bit of potash. The whole reason is because we're growing a root, so I wanted to enable the root to grow as big as possible. So that's what I did. Bit of trench composting, actual compost, bit of potash. The root itself, when I planted it, and you can see it's actually very close to the top of the soil. Really, it's like basically just underneath the mulch. So I didn't really plant it very deeply. There's a few reasons for this. Again, because we're growing a root, we don't want to waterlog it. We don't want it standing in water. Obviously, because we don't want it to rot. By planting it close to the top of the soil, we prevent it from then sitting in water over prolonged periods of time that will enable it to rot. Secondly, just in terms of where it traditionally grows, it grows in like a bit of a tropical climate, quite warm, quite humid. It grows as an understory cover, so very dappled shade. It doesn't really want full blast South African afternoon sun, otherwise it will get a bit of burning on the tips. I will talk about a bit, but sun just now as well. But that's why I've planted it in this location, and because it is an understory cover, it sort of grows on top. That's my understanding, so that's why I planted on top. And the next thing is the ginger root, right? It grows wide, not deep. So wherever you plant it, whether it's in a container, outside, you don't really need to amend the soil very deeply. It's more just very wide. It grows outwards instead of, in terms of depth, like a carrot or something. So it's just a sort of reason why I've planted on the top, just to give it a nice chance to sort of grow out. Now, one thing that I do want to mention, you can see how these leaves are drying up. Yes, we are in essentially start of winter, end of autumn, so that is definitely a contributing factor, but this has been going on for quite some time. There's two reasons. I think I haven't been watering it enough. So I've been watering it about every 2 to 3 days. It prefers moist, not wet soil. It doesn't like wet feet, otherwise it'll rot, but it does need to be constantly moist. Where it traditionally grows, again, it grows very in areas that gets like a lot of monsoons and stuff, so it's typically very moist, fertile soil and all that sort of stuff. So I think one thing that I haven't really done right is actually keeping the soil very moist. It's also the reason why I planted up here. I mean, like this concrete slab, there's a lot of moisture that gets retained in here, and so I thought that would help. I don't think it's really been that effective. The second thing is I underestimated how much shade this area gets. This area gets probably 3 hours of sun total per day, and you can see how dappled it is. It's not very consistent. So I'm not really sure how big this root is going to be, but we'll find that out. I think if I had a more dappled sun, like so if I planted it there by the peach tree, right, I think I might have gotten a bit of a better result. So that's definitely something that you want to keep an eye on. Don't give it like full blast, hot, intense, scorching sun, but it does need some sun and adequate sun for it to grow out. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I did. I mean, I soaked the root up, amended the soil, and then I planted it on top. I watered it about every 2-3 days, try to keep it moist. And this is now, so how many months is it? So October, November, December, January, Feb, March, April. Yeah, we're in May. So it's now been 7 months since I've planted this up. And you can see how it's grown. Here's another thing that I just want to mention. I know it's more of a finding, but I tried in December planting up another ginger root, but it was far smaller. It was probably around this size. It did also have 2 eyes on it, and I was hoping that it would take, but I think it was just too small. So it didn't have enough energy to actually root and shoot. So it's also something you want to consider. Ensure that the root is at least sort of 100 mils. What is that? Like 4 inches long, 1.5 inches, 2 inches sort of wide and thick. Then I think you should be good, because that's pretty much what I had. Yeah. So very easy of what I've done. Pretty much haven't done anything else. Oh, I have also put on an extra application of compost in, I think it was February, beginning of February, end of Jan, somewhere around there. It wasn't much. It was, I don't know, man, a sprinkleful. I don't know how else to classify. I didn't really measure it out. But yeah, I did put a little bit of extra compost on just to try and see if I could get a bit more growth, because it was a bit slow. But in all honesty, I think it was more of a sun issue than anything else. So yeah, so that's really what I've done. So let's dig this guy out. Let's see what's actually going on. So here you can see the root and how it's grown, how it's sort of like grown outwards. If I recall, this actually, to be honest, this looks like the original rhizome that I planted up. So you can sort of see there as a comparison to my hand, like what the size is. Yeah, so that means that this was obviously one of the eyes. This was also one of the eyes. It's grown outwards towards here. So yeah, very, very, very cool. Something that I actually want to try. I don't know. So like with lemongrass, right? I don't know if I can chow these ginger stalks. I don't know. I'm gonna, yeah, just an interesting note. I don't know if I can make like tea out of it, if I can slice it up, put it in a salad or a curry, or I don't know. I'm gonna try it. Okay, so I've loosened up around this. Let's check what this looks like. Hey, see that, dude? See, that's exactly what I mean. I mean, that's very, very sort of shallow rooted. So this original rhizome, right? This is looking a little bit soft, so I probably can't use that. But the rest of this is looking pretty good. Let's get this cleaned up. Okay, so let's quickly discuss this harvest. And I just want to start by saying, dude, I can smell this ginger. It is so odoriferous. Like, honestly, it smells awesome. I want to chow this right now. So these extended roots that's going down into, or was essentially going down to the ground, these feeder roots, I don't know if those are edible or not. I would assume so. I I would need to just Google it before I actually confirm that or not. But assuming that this top part here was in fact the original root, and that's really what I'm expecting or suspecting. It's just a little bit soft. I don't know how lacquer that's going to be, so I'm probably going to have to discard that. But I mean, it's pretty much doubled in size, so this looks pretty good. It's essentially like little baby gingers. So I think this little experiment was actually successful. If this original root was still edible or not, that would have been awesome. Then I doubled my investment. But considering that I probably can't consume that, this is pretty much whatever I put in. This is what I got out. At least this is nice, fresh baby ginger, so that's going to be quite nice. Especially like if I steep it in a tea or something, that's going to be phenomenal. Coming into winter, that's pretty much what we need, you know. Yeah, so I'm actually pretty happy with this experiment. So just a few things, right? I think, so I mentioned it just now, so there are a few things then that'll end up changing next time. I did mention in the latest update video that I want to try and grow ginger in a sort of a wide brim container in my bathroom, mostly for humidity, because it's a nice moist environment. But I want to do that now in winter, try and get a bit of a leg up, get the root to already start establishing itself, so that come spring, at the end of the year, when I plant it up into the garden, it already has a bit of size and already has some foliage, so it gets a bit of a kickstart, so I can try and get a bit of a better harvest. The other thing that I really need to try and do next time is choose a better location. I think the bed prep and everything, that was alright. I didn't see any issues here, but it didn't have enough sun, so I definitely need to give it more sun. I'm going to try and angle for more morning sun than afternoon sun, because I think the afternoon sun will just be too harsh for this little crop. I think actually it might be suitable to plant up behind my lemongrass, because the lemongrass, that wants a lot of sun. But if I plant this behind the lemongrass will then shade this out a little bit. Bit of a thought. I'll check that up, but that's really my thoughts at the moment. So really all that I'll change is try and grow it indoors for the winter, try and get a bit of a head start on the crop, and just change up the position specifically for sun. And then obviously I need to make sure that it's still nice and consistently moist. This ground, surprisingly enough, it was actually quite moist now when I was digging it up. I wouldn't actually say it was moist, I would say it was damp. Really, not really moist, more damp, but not wet, so that's good. But with the original root, that has sort of become a little bit spongy, a little bit rotted out. There's even a few holes in it, maybe a bit of pests or something, but I don't see any like bite marks or something, so it might have just been where I was cutting it for curries originally. I'm not really sure, it's been a while. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'll change. I'm pretty happy with this, so I'm calling this a success. Okay, so one other thing that I do need to just mention, before you or after you harvest ginger, it's recommended according to Google that you wash it and you cure it. So you don't want to dry it out entirely, right? You still want it to be a fresh aromatic herb. But like your onions, you want the outer skin to dry up, because at the end of the day, that's going to be its protective coating while it's in storage. So all of this dirt, all the soil and organic matter, I need to wash this off. Try and do it without damaging the skin, because the skin is quite fragile. So what I need to do is wash it, dry it, and then for a few days I'm going to just put in like a well ventilated spot, just so that it can sort of cure up, so the skin can harden a little bit. What I'm probably going to have to do is I'm going to have to cut off all these stalks to separate it, to to ensure that then the energy that's currently stored within the root doesn't then get utilized to keep the foliage alive. So stalks cut, wash it, and then just dry it up, cure it a little bit, so you can store it for as long as you want. Obviously it's not going to store for years, but you'll at least get a few months out. Yeah. So hopefully this was a bit of a shorter video than normal. I tend to ramble on a lot, but yeah, I think this is actually a pretty interesting crop. It was very fun. When my family members came over, it was always a bit of a talking point in the garden, despite some of the other stuff like the corn and the sunflowers. But bit of an unusual crop to grow. It's really, really cool, and I love how it smells. Not gonna lie, this smells awesome. So yeah, this is definitely something that I want to try again. I also want to try growing like galangal for more Thai style curries. I also want to try and grow turmeric just for the lols. I think that'll be pretty fun. Yeah, so I hope this was informative, maybe. I hope I didn't glance over anything. I'll put it up if I did. But yeah, if you enjoy hearing me ramble on about random gardening stuff, I encourage you to check my playlist.